I am Edward Fox, and I am supporting Edward Fox shocked fans in 2021 when he spoke against COVID vaccines and lockdowns. But that was just the beginning. In 2025, he made headlines again by refusing film roles because of woke script changes. Then came the death rumors he had to personally deny. His nephew, Laurence Fox, lost a massive libel case, paying $180,000 for false accusations. And now, Edward has admitted something most actors never say out loud about Hollywood's biggest secret. The truth about what really happens behind closed doors is finally coming out. Edward Fox was born on April 13, 1937, in Chelsea, London. From the moment he entered the world, his life was wrapped in drama, secrets, and family tension. His father, Robin Fox, worked as a theatrical agent. He had married an actress named Angela Worthington in October 1935. But just before Edward was born, Robin told Angela something that would haunt her. He said he would never be faithful, and he meant it. Robin had affair after affair, even a long relationship with Rosalind Chateau, who later had a son in 1948 named Daniel. Many believed Robin was the father. Things didn't stop there. One of Robin's most shocking relationships was with Princess Marina, the widow of Prince George. It wasn't just gossip. It added a strange and uncomfortable royal twist to the already messy family story. Edward's mother, Angela, was the daughter of famous playwright Frederick Lonsdale. But even that came with a shadow. She had been born out of wedlock. Her father had built a name for himself, writing plays like The Lady of Scandal, back in 1927. But what people didn't know was how close his stories were to his own family. They were full of lies, affairs, and social clashes, the same things Edward was born into. During World War II, Edward's family moved to Sussex to escape the bombings in London. He was still a small boy when he saw bombs falling, which left him with nightmares and helped shape his quiet, reserved personality. In the early 1950s, he went to Harrow School starting around age 13. He didn't do well in schoolwork. On his entrance exam, he only got 3% in math but got in anyway because of his father's influence. While he enjoyed learning French and German, he didn't like the way drama was taught. He found the acting classes boring and hated how the school focused more on tradition than creativity. Winston Churchill even visited the school twice while Edward was there, but none of it impressed him. He wasn't expelled, but he left early in 1955, tired of the rigid environment. That same year, when he turned 18, he joined the Army for national service. From 1955 to 1957, Edward served in the military. He hoped to become an officer in the Coldstream Guards, but didn't make it, so he joined the Loyals Regiment instead. Later on, there were claims that he did serve in the Coldstream Guards after all. Either way, his time in the Army was very different from his upper-class schooling. He actually enjoyed the discipline, even though it clashed with his artistic personality. After finishing his service at age 20, he started auditioning for acting roles. One director said he didn't have much talent but noticed how Edward loved to recite dramatic speeches on the street. He once lost a job at Marks & Spencer just because he wore a loud checked suit. That job didn't last, but it was another sign that Edward didn't fit into the usual world. In 1958, he joined RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, hoping to train as an actor. He was 21. Some of his classmates, like Albert Finney, would go on to become stars. But Edward didn't stay long. He felt that the school wasn't helping him much. He did love the voice lessons from Clifford Turner and kept using those techniques for the rest of his career. He left RADA in either 1959 or 1960 and started performing in small theaters. That same year, he bought a striped suit for £47 and 14 shillings from Henry Poole and Covens, probably for auditions. He moved into a little cottage in Sussex called Oundon and kept walking around town reciting speeches to anyone who would listen. He wasn't famous yet, but he was learning. In the early 1960s, he worked as a waiter in London theaters to pay the bills. He also did odd jobs and tried to stay close to the stage world. People gossiped constantly, and Edward listened quietly, learning how the business worked. There was never any proof that he saw anything terrible like casting couch situations, but he promised himself he'd never fall into those traps. In 1962, he got a small, uncredited part in a film called The Mindbenders, and later that same year, he appeared in The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Runner, also uncredited. He was 25 at the time, struggling to get by, but slowly moving forward. That year, he also took a trip to Paris that would change everything. In 1962, when Edward visited Paris, he discovered the French New Wave film movement. He watched films by Francois Truffaut and others, and it opened his eyes to a completely different kind of cinema. It made him question what kind of actor he wanted to be. He was still poor, still working side jobs, but this trip gave him a sense of purpose. When he came back to London, he took on more roles. Edward Fox got his first big chance on February 14, 1963. He wasn't the star. He was just an understudy for his brother James in a play called The Importance of Being Earnest at Wyndham's Theatre. but things didn't go smoothly. During rehearsals on March 5th, the two brothers got into a serious fight. Edward didn't like how James delivered a certain line, and they argued so badly that it almost ruined the production. The director saw that Edward had something intense in him, but the fight caused a standoff that lasted 2 days. The producer, H.M. Tennant, had to step in to calm them down. Edward finally got to perform once on April 20th. He played Algernon and got good reviews, even with all the drama backstage. But things got worse because of the fight. Some agents called him unprofessional and refused to work with him. For a short while, he was blacklisted. When the play ended on May 15th, he had only earned a little attention, but it was enough to keep going. Before that, Edward had tried to get into film. He appeared as an extra in The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Runner, which was filmed between June 4th and August 12, 1961, but released in some places in 1964. He wasn't even credited. On July 10, 1961, the director Tony Richardson rejected him for a bigger role, saying Edward looked too posh for the part. That hurt. Edward had gone to Harrow, a fancy school, and he didn't fit the working-class vibe of the film. But instead of quitting, he changed. He began studying method acting. He followed Real Runners and Workers starting August 15th and lost 12 pounds to make himself look rougher. On September 3rd, while filming, he added a line that wasn't in the script. Richardson shouted at him, "Stick to extras." The film premiered on September 27, 1962, and it reminded Edward of how it felt to be left out. That pain stayed with him until 1965. For that tiny role, he got paid just $50. By 1967, Edward finally got a real TV part. He starred in the Wednesday play on October 18th in an episode called The Order. He played a military officer hiding his sexuality. Inspired by real scandals like the 1962 Vassal case, the episode aired just 3 months after Britain decriminalized homosexuality on July 27th. Viewers were shocked. By October 20th, over 120 complaints came in. Some letters even threatened him. One on October 22nd said he should be hurt. He had spent weeks preparing. Meeting activists in Soho, starting September 5th. The role caused a big fight in his own family. On November 1st, some relatives cut ties with him, but the episode got 8 million viewers. Censors cut out 3 minutes of scenes on October 15th. Even with the success, Edward had anxiety attacks until the following year. Still, by December, he had 15 new offers. In 1969, Edward got a small role in What, A Lovely War. He played a military aide and started filming on January 6th at Brighton Pier. On February 20th, he got into a heated argument with director Richard Attenborough. Edward wanted stronger anti-war lines. They shouted at each other so badly that filming stopped for 4 hours. He almost got fired. On February 22nd, the director gave in, but things stayed tense. It hurt Edward's career until they made peace in 1977. Later that year, Edward acted in Battle of Britain, which came out on September 15, 1969. He played a pilot named Archie. Filming happened between April 1st and July 20th at He met veterans like Douglas Bader, who had lost 23 friends in the air battles of 1940. On June 10th, he sat through a talk where someone told them that 103 RAF pilots were killed in just a few months. Edward started having terrible dreams. He would wake up screaming at least 3 nights a week. Bad weather slowed down filming so much that his contract stretched from 6 weeks to 11 months. In 1971, Edward's life changed with The Go-Between. He played Viscount Trimingham, a scarred aristocrat. The film was based on a novel from 1953 and filmed in Norfolk. It premiered on May 13th at Cannes and won the Palme d'Or. Edward won the BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor on March 23, 1972. But there was trouble off camera. Tabloids began spreading stories in July 1970 about a secret affair between Edward and his co-star Julie Christie. She was 30 and he was 34, married to Tracy Reed since 1958. They claimed the two were kissing between takes. Over 15 front pages ran the gossip. On August 5th, Edward denied it in a BBC interview. Still, the rumors caused problems. Then came The Day of the Jackal in 1973. Edward played a cold-blooded assassin. To prepare, starting in August 1972, he spent 60 hours practicing with a custom .22 rifle and ex-mercenaries in Paris. It was so realistic that MI5 started watching him. On September 15th, they visited the set in Vienna, worried he was learning too much about real terror tactics. On October 3rd, he got a letter at home in London. It had a bullet inside and a message: "Stop digging or join the targets." It was sent from Marseille. Police found out it came from a fired extra, but filming stopped for 2 days. That delay cost $45,000. The film came out on May 16, 1973. It had cost $8 million to make and earned $16 million. Edward's scenes were shot over 120 days across 3 countries. He even learned how to put together the sniper rifle in under 90 seconds. Shamar Moore's departure marked the end of an era. But for many, it was also the moment the chemistry of the team began to shift. The brotherhood that had defined the early seasons fractured quietly, replaced by a rotation of new agents trying to fill the void. When Damon Gupton joined as Agent Stephen Walker, fans barely had time to adjust before he was gone. Then came Daniel Henney as Agent Matt Simmons, imported from Criminal Minds, Beyond Borders. The rhythm of the show changed. The tone grew darker, more procedural, less personal. Yet even in its shifting identity, one thing remained constant: the viewers. The millions of fans who tuned in every week, not just for the killers, but for the quiet, human moments between the agents who hunted them. By 2019, Criminal Minds had reached its 15th and final season. The writers knew this was the goodbye tour. Each episode felt like a farewell letter to the people who had grown up watching these characters. Garcia's final case, Rossi's last chase, JJ's confession to Reed, the emotional gut punch that left fans arguing for months. In the end, it wasn't about closure, it was about gratitude. When the cast wrapped their final scene, tears filled the set. Paget Brewster said it felt like losing family all over again. A crew member whispered, 15 years, and still not enough. But the story didn't truly end there. In 2022, Criminal Minds, Evolution brought the behavioral analysis unit back from the ashes. Streaming on Paramount+, it wasn't just a reboot, it was a rebirth. The cases were darker, serialized, and grounded in the digital age of crime. The bow wasn't chasing single killers anymore. They were hunting networks, systems, and patterns that hid behind screens. The reboot also marked a shift in storytelling. Less about the monster of the week, more about the monster within. The agents had changed to Rossi battled grief after losing his wife. JJ balanced motherhood with trauma. Garcia struggled with leaving the darkness behind, only to be pulled back in. Matthew Gray Gubler, the heart of the original series, didn't return for Evolution. His absence was felt deeply. Fans flooded social media with petitions, begging for Reed's comeback. Gubler, who had directed multiple episodes of the original show, had chosen to step away to explore art, film, and writing. In interviews, he spoke with gratitude about the show, but admitted it was time to grow beyond it. "I'll always love Reed," he said softly, "but I had to let him live his own life." Meanwhile, Shamar Moore had found a new home on carrying the same quiet strength that once defined Derek Morgan. Kirsten Vangsness continued writing and producing, becoming a passionate advocate for mental health awareness. Joe Mantegna, ever the steady anchor, still visits the old soundstage sometimes. He says he can still hear the echoes of laughter when the lights go off. Tragically, over the years, several behind-the-scenes figures from Criminal Minds passed away. Directors, producers, makeup artists, people who helped shape the soul of the show but never appeared on camera. Each loss hit the cast like family. When cinematographer Greg St. John's died, Paget Brewster posted a simple tribute. "He lit our faces for 15 years. May the light follow him." Even today, Criminal Minds remains more than a show, it's a legacy. Its influence can be seen across crime dramas everywhere. The mix of forensic psychology, empathy, and horror created a formula few could replicate. But what truly set it apart wasn't the killers, it was the humanity. The show never glamorized violence. It reminded viewers that monsters exist, but so do people who never stop fighting them. On fan forums, stories still pour in. A woman says Criminal Minds helped her survive a dark time. A student became a criminologist because of Reed. A mother says Garcia's kindness taught her daughter to believe in empathy. Those are the unseen ripples, the real impact beyond the screen. As of 2025, the future of Criminal Minds, Evolution hangs in balance. Rumors of another renewal circulate, though nothing is confirmed. Cast members remain hopeful. Paget Brewster, now in her 50s, has said she'd play Emily Prentice as long as fans still need her. And somewhere in the minds of millions, the team is still out there boarding the jet, profiling the unthinkable, and whispering their familiar goodbye. Wheels up. Because for those who watched from the very beginning, Criminal Minds was never just a show about crime. It was a story about broken people trying to make sense of a broken world. It was about friendship, trauma, survival, and the quiet hope that even in the darkest corners of the human mind, someone is still looking for the light.